so folks, today we got to get through the rest of user forms. Why? Well, because we're moving on after today, and we got the next project's all about user forms. There's a couple of things that are pretty difficult on this project, and I'm hoping that I can get through them today in class. So you'll have that on the video, a pattern or something very similar to what you're doing. Next week is the midterm. Begins Monday morning, ends Saturday, I guess, at the end of the day. I think 2 of those days are like late days. I think maybe Friday and Saturday is a late day. Can you see that? Can you somehow check before you go? I'm not sure what the late days are. I guess we can look it up.
What's a late day?
A late day. You know what a late day is? Oh, this is really neat. It's a scam. Here's the way the testing center works. So pause this. We'll need this. Okay, so exam. Sorry, testing center. We took offense about the whole scam thing. Anyway, it's a sound business model. Okay, so we're kind of getting ready now. After today, you will have everything you need to be able to do this project, the user forms project. All right, so we're going to download products.xlsm. We're not going to have time to get to the image files. One of the things we can do is we can actually display an image on a form that we're kind of reading off of a set of images. We just aren't going to have time to get to it. You don't need it for the project, and so we're going to skip it. But do go ahead and download products.xlsm, and let's get that opened up. Oh, you may notice that I've got already a solution up here from the last class. I think we'll probably end up doing something a little bit differently. They ask me to post their code. You'll have your code. All right, so the data that we have here, this is some data that I swiped off of a website like back in the early 2000s. It was some kind of outdoors store, online outdoor. I think it was called outlaw.com. And you bought stuff for fishing, hunting, camping, that kind of thing. So it turns out Excel is really good for many things. It's not really good for everything, but it's good for many things. Just the whole layout of a spreadsheet. If I've got like if I've got some kind of a spreadsheet model, I've got a bunch of inputs in here, I've got some intermediate steps that happen in the middle, I've got some outputs. That works really well. It kind of takes up the whole sheet. It does a nice job. If my task here is to edit a particular row, like row number 17 here, this is not a very good interface for editing row number 17. Why not? Well, I've got this pretty good sized screen, and I'm limiting myself to just this part of it. All of this, the rest of the stuff's irrelevant for this particular activity. And so typically when we think about a user form, we think, we're just popping up some kind of dialog box to get some information from the user. But another nice thing about a user form is that I can make it fairly large. I can make it fill up the whole screen if I want to. And I can then organize the data across it. So I could take this data, which is kind of hard to show all of it. I could show it on one screen. What would I have to do? I'd have to zoom out pretty far. Okay, so there. Now I can see everything about this. I just can't see it well enough to edit it. So the idea here is a user form. I want to bring all the data from this row up onto a user form, and then edit mine to my heart's content, press save, and have the user form write it back out to the proper line on the worksheet. See what we're doing? Now, and here's the other nice thing. In fact, one of the things we'll do right here is if I look over here, I've got a column called promotion. All the promotions right now are full price. That doesn't seem like a very compelling promotion. But there's various other, I think it's kind of a way of saying no promotion on that right now. But there's other promotions that we could have in here. And so, presumably the only promotions allowed to be in here are these. They're the ones that are on the promotion sheet. These are like the list of valid promotions. So one of the other really important things about a user form is that we can make it so that the user can just pick from that particular list. And I guess we can do that with data validation here as well. There's some other things that we can do in terms of data validation that are beyond what we can do with data validation tools. So that's what we're going to see right now. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. Open up your Visual Basic Editor. And apparently I downloaded this file twice. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a different name. Save it in my downloads, that's fine. And we'll call it Products Winter 17 MBA to distinguish it from the IS version that I posted last hour. All right. Close the window that I have open from FuncRes. And let's insert a user form. Insert user form. I've changed the resolution on my screen, and these things are still itty bitty tiny. Now maybe I can zoom in a little bit here. Control plus. Still not very big. Anyway. All right. So first of all, there's some properties of the form itself. I don't think we played with the form's properties last time we were here. Did we change the caption of the form? Oh yeah, we did. Okay, so let's not worry about that. So here's the idea. I want to put this information out here on the form. And we're going to get to use this. We won't be able to do it all today. We'll do some of these. So here's the first one I want to do. I want to bring the product ID on here. Now, the main idea is that the user can come in and change the data, but I don't think I want them changing the product ID. So when I bring the product ID on, I'm going to bring it on in such a way that it's not editable by the user. It'll just be the control that I choose to bring that information on. And so, that's this one right here. Can you even see that when I'm zoomed in? It's the capital A, it looks like an A. So that's the label control. And the label control will just give me a place to put data that the user can't modify. I can change it all I want through code, but the user can't change it. And I'm probably going to change this to have it look a little bit differently as well. So just so you get the feeling that there's some changes that we can make here. First of all, I'm going to change the name. I'll call this LBL ID. This will be the ID of the product ID that I'm showing. Change the name of the product. That way, when I refer to it through code, we're looking at this code is going to get ugly enough without having to guess at what the different objects are. So I'm going to name them well. And I think to kind of cue the user, this is not something they change. I'm going to put it with kind of a dark background, back color. Come to my palette and just choose kind of a darker gray. I will put a border on it, border color. Maybe I'll put a black border on it, a dark gray border. And I can't see that until I have a border style of something besides none, so single. So now we can see it's kind of dark gray, got a rectangle around it. Oh, and you know what? I'm also going to change the, there's like a line missing. I got to have it selected. And it's called text align. Change text align to center. All right, so that's about how I want that control to look. Just be a place for the user to realize, okay, that's the product I'm on, but I can't change it. Can't even select it. It's not a selectable element on the form. Before we show that, then let's go ahead and put the next one on. I also would like to put on like the name of the product. The name of the product, I might want to change the name of the product, so we'll make that an editable field. So that is the next tool over here. Whoops. It's that one. This is it's called a text box. It's like a little A and a B with a insertion point next to it. Whoa. I thought that was going to hypnotize me there for a minute. Let's go back. So I've got that one selected, and then I'll click and drag to bring that in. Text box is just text the user can edit. Put text there, the user can edit it, and then we'll make it save onto the form. Same thing here. I'm going to change the name. That's the only property you can change with this one. We'll change this one to say txt name. Txt name, very good. All right. So I'd like to make it so that when we show this form, it actually brings that data up. So let's think about object and event. So first code we're going to put on here, what object and which event? We want to have either the holder for this form or for this code. It's going to populate the values when this user form opens. It's one that we used last time we were together. I'll narrow it down. The object is going to be the user form. The event will be, remember, we double click the user form, that should take me to the code. Here's the user form. I can change my size. I was hopeful that it will actually change. It looks like it changed a little bit. Okay, but instead of click, so right now user form is click. I mean, this is my objects on my form, including the form. The event I'm going to want is initialize. So when the user form gets initialized, when it's first opened, I've increased my resolution. Is this big enough to see, or do you need to zoom in on this too? There's no a little bit about it. Okay. So we are initializing. Here's what we want to do. We're going to need to show the data. In fact, we're also going to need to save the data. Now, we're going to save the data to the same row that we show the data from. And so here's what I want to do. I want to set up a module level variable. I'm going to call it row as along. And we're going to set that variable when the form gets initialized. So we'll say row equals. I think what we want to do is we just want to say whatever row the active cell is on. Whatever row the active cell is on. So active cell, not row. Remember, this is an assignment statement. It takes whatever's on the right-hand side and puts it on the left-hand side. So we're going to put that value into row. Now we better make sure that our sheet named products is the active sheet. So sheets products dot select or activate will do. So we initialize into those two things. I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of other sub procedures up here. One called save data. We'll get to it here shortly. And one called show data. And that's the one that we're going to call when we initialize. So we're initializing. We're going to go ahead and set these two values, and then we'll call show data. And show data is where we're going to now read off that worksheet, and we're going to display this stuff on the user. We've created two controls. The first control we made was called LBL ID. By the way, a nice little trick is, if you say me, that refers to this form. So me is a shortcut for this user form. If I say me dot, it will show me everything I can type, including my controls. So if I know it's a label, but I can't remember what I called it, I can type in LBL, and that will take me to the area that my labels are. It's just kind of handy. If you can't remember, it's a little easier to just do that than you can leave the me on. It doesn't hurt to leave the me on. LBL ID dot. Now I want to change what's being displayed on that label. Any idea which property I'm interested in changing? Take a look at those properties and see which one you think it might be. Not the name, it's the caption. So I'm just going to choose caption, and we're setting the caption of that equal to what? Well, we've already set the active sheet to be product, so I don't have to worry about what sheet I'm talking about. So I'll just say cells, row number row, set the row that I'm interested in, column number 1, that's where the label ID is, and I want the value of that cell. I'll do something similar, me.txt name. Now there's no caption of a text field. Instead, it has a property called text. Also has one called value. I think they're synonyms for each other. They're entirely synonyms. But text is what we're going to change here. So we're changing now the text of the text name control on the form. And we're going to set it equal to whatever is in column number 6, which is where the name is. Name F is 6, A, B, C, D, E, F, yeah, 6. Or, of course, we could just put here F. So now, when we run the form, it should initialize. The initialize will say, all right, make sure this is the active sheet. Make sure that, or then record which row we're on, call show data. Show data should put those values in. So I'll run the form, and by the way, anytime I'm actually either on the user form itself, this is what I'm editing, or I'm editing the code behind the user form, if I hit play, it's going to show this form. And here's the one I'm on, Pintail Standard, made by Flambeau. And quite scroll. By the way, when this form is open, unless I open this form using a different technique, I cannot come back to the worksheet while that's open. I've got to close it. Come back here. So I'm going to come back over here. Yeah, we can see it all here. So I'm going to come to this first one, row 14. It's called the Canada Goose Floater. I think that's like a duck, some kind of duck decoy or goose decoy. Now if I run that form, yep, there's the Canada Goose Floater. And that's the number. 18-4800. So far so good, we're seeing this okay? If you're not getting this to go at this point, it's time to ask for Cameron's expert assistance. Anyone need help? There's someone? I didn't see. Is Signal again? Your spidey sense was tingling. Do you have a spidey?
Well, wait.
Okay.
You can't see any of this in the macros, but
Oh, okay, so these are all sub-procedures. Why can't we see these in the macro button? Here's the thing. What you mean is over here, if I come here and choose View Macros or Developer Macros, View Macros, there's nothing. So remember that what a macro is, it's some block of code that I can just execute. You can say, you know what, I want to run this procedure. There's a couple things. Number one, they have to be public procedures, which they are by default, unless we say private. Some of these are private. And they have to take no parameters. And they can't be on a form. So you can have both those characteristics and have them be on a form. They have to be in general module. They have to be in a general module. And this code's not in a general module. It's in a user form. So, yeah. In fact, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. What would that mean? What would it mean to say I want to run this one right here? It kind of makes sense, but until that form is loaded into memory, this doesn't have anything to do. These objects aren't in memory, so this form has to first be loaded in memory, and then we can invoke this procedure through some method. All right, let me just go ahead and I'm going to show you what happens when I change this. So, let's look right over here. Where is it? There it is, Canada Goose Floater. I'm going to change this from a floater to a bobber. I don't know if there's such a thing as a bobber, but I'm going to change it. Now watch really closely, and watch right here, because I think it might flash away too quickly, but watch really closely. When I close this, oh, did you see it change? It didn't change at all, because I haven't told it to change. I got to write code that tells it to change. And so at this point, all I've done is said, when this thing opens, read the value from there, put it onto the user form. Next step is going to be, hey, when the user changes it, let's write it back out to the worksheet, if they say okay. So let's give that a shot right now. So to do that, I'm going to bring on a button, a command button. That's this guy right here. We played with the command button last time. It's the one we made dance around the screen when you tried to click on it. So I'm going to select that and then click and drag to bring that button on. It's the one that looks like a little square. We'll zoom in again. It's this one right here. This is the command button. So you select that button, and you click and drag to create the button. That's where I am. And then we're going to configure the button. Command button, because there's different kinds of buttons. There's a button right here called a toggle button. This is a really bad idea of the 1990s. Generally, I think the 1990s was a pretty good decade. This was a bad thing in the decade. Toggle button is like you push it, it sticks on, push it again, and it comes off. It's exactly the same as a checkbox. Why do we need a toggle button? It looks neat, apparently, in the 90s. But that's why it's not called just a button, is because there's a toggle button in addition to a command button. Okay, so I've got a command button on here. And now I'm going to change the properties. First one, I'm going to change the name. Command button 1. I do not want a line of code that says when command button 1 gets clicked. I want a line of code that lets me know something about that button. When I look at it, I got to go, oh, that's when the user is clicking OK. So I'm going to change the name to CMD OK. The user clicks OK, and I'll be able to see that in my code. I'll change the caption so the user knows what it's about. Okay. And I'll change one more thing. I'm going to change the default. Actually, I'll do the default here in just a second. I've changed only two things. I've changed the name of the button, and I've changed the caption. Now I'm going to copy it. You can just hold the Control key down and drag it somewhere else and make a copy of it. Or you can do Control C. When it's selected, Control C, Control V, that's fine. This one named CMD cancel. And I'll change the caption to this one to say cancel. Right, there's one more property that I want to set on each of these buttons. And it's not critical, but it's just kind of nice. I want to make it so if the user hits enter, it's the same as clicking on the OK button, and that's the default property. So on my OK button, I'm going to set the default property to true. This is the default button. Press enter, it's like clicking on it. On the cancel button, I'm going to change the cancel property to true. Can you guess which key you hit on the keyboard to now invoke this button? It's the escape. Yeah, you press escape, it's just like clicking cancel. You hit enter, it's like clicking OK. Question?
Where are you changing that property in?
Where or what?
Well, where?
So yeah, where it's the properties window. So I'm going to select it. If my properties window is not showing, I'm going to choose View Properties Window.
I see that. I'm just wondering which of the.
Okay, so on the OK button, I'm changing the cancel, changing the default property to true. On the cancel button, I'm changing the cancel property to true. So there's two properties that will make these buttons be invoked from the keyboard. One's called cancel. If that's true, when you hit escape, it activates the button. It calls the click. It sends the click event to the button is what it does. And then there's the default, which calls the click event of the button when it's set to true. The truth is, folks, if you didn't quite get these, you're okay. You won't need it for the rest of the example today. You can probably get by in life without knowing these, and I don't think they're on the midterm. So. All right. So now let's go ahead and do the cancel. The cancel is simpler, so let's do the cancel. So double-click the cancel button, and it created this sub-procedure. When the object named CMD cancel gets the click off event, this code gets executed. All I want to say, I want to close the form. Now, there's two approaches I can take. There's two approaches I can take to say close this form and move on with my code. Incidentally, when I open this user form, it's going to suspend the execution of whatever code's going on. I got lots of code going on, and at this point, boom, open up a user form. That code's going to stop until this user form is either hidden or unloaded. Those are my two options. If I hide it, it takes it off the screen, my code keeps running. If I unload it, it takes it off the screen, and my code keeps running. What's the difference? Let's take a look. If I say me.hide, remember, me is just another name for the form, so there's a method of the form that will make it invisible. It's called hide. Me.hide. What that does is it leaves the form exactly the way it is. Everything the user's typed in there is just exactly the same way that it was before me.hide happened. It's just no longer visible. If I was to show it again, it'd come right back exactly where it left off. You could type a bunch of stuff in there and go, oh, you know what? I need to go look at some worksheet. So you have some button that says pause. Oh, that'd be kind of fun. Let's add a pause button. Let's not add a pause button. Never mind. We've got stuff to get through. It'll be fun, but I got stuff you need for the project. Okay. So the other approach, we're not going to take this approach. The other approach is to unload it. Now, if I unload it, it says, yeah, I got this form loaded into memory, all this stuff in memory. Whatever you just type, it's stored in memory. Forget it. Unload it. Dump it. Throw it away. Release that, all the memory used for that form, release it back to the operating system. I don't need it anymore. Next time I show the form, I'll start again from scratch. These are two approaches. And so since in this approach, I'm kind of thinking every time I open this form, I want to actually show the data that's active on whatever row, the way the data is on the worksheet, then I think we're going to take this approach where we unload. So but here's the difference. Hide is a method of the form. Unload is just it's a statement. It's part of the VBA language. And so instead of some object.unload, we're going to say unload some object. Me, unload me. There's unload me. That just says, I'm done, get me out of here. Question?
So you could have used, because we used it, we initialized the form, but you could do it like when it's activated, right?
Right, yeah, so it's a good point. So if we were,
you could have used me.hide, right?
if If we're hiding it and we put this code on activate, then it would behave that way. You're right. So because when that form gets shown again, it gets activated again, and it would call the activate event. It's a good point. We could have put this code on activate and then just hidden it, because when it loads and then it activates, and so it would activate it on its way up as well. Right, good point. We're going to put it here. Yeah. All right, so we've got that one going. Let me go ahead and go back to my code. Let me back to my form. Now I'll double-click the OK button. I want the OK button to be just like the unload button, but we're going to do something before. So now, before we unload, we're going to save data. We've already made a procedure called save data. It doesn't do a whole lot yet. But I'm going to call save data here. So when the user clicks cancel, we'll just unload. When the user clicks OK, we'll save, then unload. You see it? All right. Well, save data is almost exactly like show data in reverse. So the user cannot change the caption. It's a label, LVL caption. They can't change it. I don't have to worry about trying to save that, but they can change the name. So I'm going to copy the line that I used in show data to show the name, and I'm going to put it up here in save data. But let's think about what this does. This reads off of the worksheet and puts it into the form. What do I want to do for save data? Exactly the opposite. And so I'm just going to reverse this line. I'm going to say I'm going to put back onto the worksheet whatever is on that property of the form. So I'm going to look at the text property of the txt name object. Whatever is there, I'm going to write it out to the workbook in column F of whatever row is my active row. And this will happen when the user clicks OK. Save data, we'll go right and save data, whatever we got going on there, and then we'll unload. Now we should be able to test it and actually see it save that data. Goose floater, I'm going to change it to a goose bobber. We won't be able to see it happen because it goes so fast, but we'll say OK, go back to it. There it is, now a goose bobber. We've written that back out. So now you now see kind of the process. When the thing comes up, you got to put everything in the form where we want it, and then when the user clicks save, right back out to the worksheet where it needs to go. How are we feeling, folks? So far, so good? Not too bad? Oh, it gets worse. Believe me. Let's do one thing worse right now. Let's take a look at this button right here. What does this button do? It's close the form. It's built right there. It's not one I added. I don't have the normal kind of controls over it. I can't move it. I can't change the color. I can't say, I can't write an event that responds to the click, or code that responds to the click event of this. But when I click this, the form is going to close. That's a form level event that I can track for. So let's take a look at the form and double click my form again. Got to get onto one of the, here on the initialize. Anyway, my user form is what's selected here. And now instead of initialize, I'm going to look right here for query close. It's a really bad name. Whoever thought of this name was a bad idea, but that's the one it is. In the database world, when we say query, what are we talking about? Actually, in the English language, when I say, I would like to pose a query for your consideration, what would I be saying? I'm going to ask you a question. So it means in database as well. I'm going to ask a question of the database. What does it mean in this context? I'm going to ask if it's okay to close. Is it okay? Are we allowed to close? I'm going to go ahead and select that. We'll open up a new procedure. Take a little closer look at it. So now, here's the really neat thing about this, is this property right here called cancel. This passes in a value called cancel. And if I change this value to 1, cancel by default 0. But if I change cancel to 1, guess what it does? Any thoughts? Maybe it's true. I'm going to change it to 1. Oh, I know 1. Yeah, it's asking, it's querying close. Am I allowed to close? Cancel 1 means, let's do true. True. Cancel true. Cancel true means, yeah, cancel. This code says, I'm trying to close, and what does the code say? No. Yeah, let's run this. This will be fun. Oh, I should have saved before I, oops. Nothing. How about cancel? Nothing. Why doesn't my cancel work? The cancel says unload, and the unload says, hey, are we allowed to close? And I'm saying no. Save. Nothing. I can't close this thing. Fortunately, I can go back to my code and hit stop. Not a bad idea to save though now anyway. Thought I was on the other workbook when I said save. Still think so. Okay. So I'm going to go get rid of it. The whole point here is that it's not that you would put cancel on there. It's that you would say, oh my gosh, you just tried to close this form. It's a really serious thing. Are you sure you want to close it? And the user can say, oh, no, boy, I'm glad you asked. I didn't really want to close it. And then you could prevent the thing from closing it that way. And you only have that code in one place. It doesn't matter how they're trying to close it. You could prompt them and say, hey, do you want to close it? We're not really going to put anything in here, but I just wanted to demonstrate to you that that's it. You have the ability to put code at that level. All right, so we're just working on this, showing this code. Now, one of the great things about a user form is that we have some ability to have something besides this really boring way to look at this data. I am going to bring on another control. We'll just bring a list box on. Here's what I want to do. So we already talked briefly about the idea that we've got promotions. Go ahead and select that list box and draw a list box onto your form. So they got promotions like half price, free shipping, free warranty, whatever. What I would like to do is I would like to make it possible to be able to show that list of promotions, but I would also like them to be able to apply multiple promotions. So you could say, hey, this is free shipping, and it's half price. We really want to get rid of these things. Half price, free shipping. Oh, we're not going to give you a free warranty. They're terrible. They're really low quality. So no warranty, but we will give you these two. And so that's the idea here. This is quite a bit more complicated than what we've done so far. And this is going to mirror very closely what many students think is the hardest part of the project. And so this is going to be a good one for you to have an example. So let's do that one next. And then, depending on how much more time we have, we might do some of these other controls as well. All right, so I'm going to put that promotion list box of these promotions up here. I'm going to change the name of it to LST Promo. I've given the list box a name. And just so I can see another interesting use for the label control. This is the main use for a label control. I'm just going to put some text here. Now this one I'm not going to change the name of because I'm never going to refer to this through code. The whole reason I changed the name is when I look at my code, the code makes sense. I'm never going to refer to this through code. I just want to change the caption. I just want to put promotions on this caption. Right, so that's just a label that just helps orient the user to this page. This is a label I'm using to display data. This is one that just says, hey, here's the promotion. All right.
And you didn't even give that a new name, just a new caption.
Yeah, just a caption. No new name on it. I wouldn't hurt my feelings if you called this thing LBL promo. That would be okay. But the point is, the whole reason that you change the name is when you read your code, it makes sense. And just knowing what I'm going to say, you know what? I'm done with that label. It's there. It's configured. I'm never going to change it through code. That object's never going to show up in my code. I don't care what it's named. Okay. So now, when we load these promotions up, we're going to have to read them off the worksheet. We did something like, we'll go through this kind of quickly because we did something like this on Monday. In fact, we did this very thing on Monday. So here's the promotions over here in my promos tab. We've got one here called full price, which I'm not really thrilled with as being a promotion. So maybe we'll start with 2, and let's go ahead and add another one in there. Let's see. Free shipping, let's call one half price. Half price. It's the half price warranty. It's the half price promotion. And I guess that's enough. We'll have 4, but it'll just be a different 4. I'm not going to put full price in there as a promotion. What would be the real promotion? Full price is like no promotion at all. All right. So again, when we show data, let's go ahead and load those promotions into this list box. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll come to my show data procedure. Zoom in. All right. Now remember, we're going to have to have a loop that looks across that promos sheet. So let me declare a variable dim r as an integer. R equals 2. Do until sheets promos. It's not case sensitive, but someone will ask if I don't put that in capitals. I'll put it in capitals. Dot cells, row number R, column number 1, dot value, zero length string. Loop, put a do events in there. Make sure I say R equals R plus 1. That's just the infrastructure around my statement that's going to do the adding into that. So you remember that a list box, well, I don't really expect you to remember. That's why I'm saying it. You may not remember, but a list box, list promo, has an add item method. Whatever I put as the argument to the add item method gets added into the box. Well, that's just exactly what we have here. So whichever row I'm currently looking at on my promos sheet, I want to add it in there. Why am I starting at 2 instead of 1? Because full price is what's at number 1. I don't really want to put that in the list of promotions. That's not a promotion, don't put it in the list. All right, so that should now put in the list of promotions. So let me come to my data and actually put one of these promotions in here. So I'm going to use half price. That'll be my promotion of choice today. So I'm going to come right over here on my Canada Goose bobber and change the promotion to half price. All right, and now I'm ready to show that. User form. You know what? I'm kind of tired of going back and forth. I'm going to assign a hotkey to show that user form. So we see what it takes to do that. You don't really assign a hotkey directly to a user form. Instead, I have to have a general module, a macro. It's got to be in a general module. It's got to be a substitute I can just run, and then I'll assign a hotkey to that. So let's go ahead and do that. So back to my code. I'm going to insert a module, general module, sub show form. It's pretty easy. Name of the form. Oh, it's called user form 1. It's a bad name. But what the heck, we're getting low on time. I'm going to need to go with it. Probably should change that to something else, but user form 1 dot show. User form 1 dot show. That's all it takes. That shows the form. The method of the user form. Refer to the form, show the form, and it shows it. Now I'm going to assign a hotkey like Control-Shift-S to that procedure. So back to my Excel developer list of macros. I rather expected it to be. Yours is there. What did I do wrong? Sub show form. Oh, I put it in the wrong place. I put it in FuncRes. That's why. Drag it over here to this one. Delete it from here. All right, so I've got a module. It's in my project. Should be able to come here. Developer, macros, show form, options. Put a capital S in there. Now, should be able to be right here at my half price one. Canada Goose bobber, Control-Shift-S. That should bring the form up. User form 1. I put the form in the wrong place too. It's delightful. Fortunately, I can just drag it down here and I'll come in here. Okay, so I got form in here now. Let's try it again. Control Shift S. There we go. Let's now bring up my user form. And we can see now that it has put all of my promotions in here. But what hasn't it done? It hasn't yet marked half price as the one. All we've done so far is say, put the list of promotions in there. We still have to say, check and see when this is the promotion, and then select it. Okay, let's make sure we're up to speed on this point. So let's get back to our code. Questions on what we've got here so far? I need to make some part of this bigger.
So,
Can I get show data showing as well?
so if the list box is
Hold on a second. I have to show data. I lost show data. Let's save data. Oh, show data is here. Oh yeah, show data is the one I'm on. Yeah, sure. Other questions?
so if the list is not big enough to show the data, you cannot see the data, right? You cannot
If the list box is not big enough to show everything I put into it, then a scroll bar will show up and I'll be able to scroll to it. Yeah. Could we? It's a lot of work. We can actually make that. We can make that list box grow for however much. It's not a trivial thing, but you could make it grow. Make the form get bigger to accommodate it, and you don't want to do that. Anyone need a hand to get going? We're ready to move on? Well, hopefully what we've got here is when you open up that form, the list box gets populated with the possibilities for promotions. So next, what we want to do, and I'm a little bit hesitant to move on because I'm seeing some furrowed brows staring at the screen. I mean, maybe you're working on some other homework or something, but
I got something.
okay, let's go take a look. Take just a second. All right, so over here in show data, when we're trying to actually bring which name, the name of the product up for editing, that's easy. Read it off the cell, put it into the text box. This is going to be a lot more difficult. Look, we've got to see what's in the cell. Now we've got to see which one it matches in my list box, and then we have to tell that to be selected. So, first let's understand how you say something to be selected. If there's just going to be one thing that's selected, it's easy. There's a value property. I set the value property to some text string. If it matches in the list box, it'll select it. But you're going to have to be a little more sophisticated about it. So let me show you what we're going to have to do. So I'll do this, an example on a worksheet. So you don't follow me, just watch. Don't try to do what I'm doing because it's just explanatory. Come over here and make another sheet. So you'll remember that there's a property inside a list box that's an array. You remember what it's called? There's an array. There's a property that's an array that holds all the items in the list box. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to draw a picture of it. Not because I think it will help you remember, but because I need the picture. It's an array, so it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The name is list. So in this one, we've got something called, what's the first one? Is it called free warranty? The next one, free shipping. The next one, I don't remember. Oh, it's got some of these things in here. Okay, there's another array property. It is called selected. It doesn't have values in it, it's Boolean. F-A-L-S-E. When this first comes up, it's always exactly the same size as the list. So however many elements there are in the list array, there's the same number in the selected array. And the default for any Boolean type is false. That's what it comes in as, false. And so if I wanted free warranty to be selected, I would change this to true. then that one is selected. It is both how I make one get selected, and it's how I tell which one is selected by looking at this array. Which one or which ones. We can have multiple ones selected. And that's what we're trying to accomplish. We want to be able to select 2 or 3 different promotions, apply them all to this particular product. Okay, you get the idea? We need 2 arrays. One tells us the name, one tells us whether it's selected or not. Right. So let's go ahead and use this understanding of this selected array to tell to set which one is selected. Right, so and we're going to do it right here in the same loop where we're loading it up. So here we've got a loop. It's looking across all those, and it's actually adding items. It's actually adding items into my list. So all I want to do is say, let's take a look and see if the one that was just added is the one that's on my current row. So I will say if, here's the value we just added. I'm going to read the one just added off of the list box itself. We can read it off of the sheet, but just to kind of see how we would say, here's how we get to the most recently added item in the list. It goes like this. Name of my object, LST promo, dot list, that's the array. I then have to give it some number in here. Now the number I want this to be is the top index that's of that array. How do I ask that? There's a couple of ways to do it. One, if I look at the array itself, there's a function I can pass an array to ask, what's the upper boundary? What's that called? It's called ubound. But there's also a property of the list box itself. What's the property that would tell me there? List promo dot list count. This is a property telling me how many items are in the list. So if I've got 3 items in my array, what's the top index? 2, right, 0, 1, 2. What does list count tell me? If I've got 3 items in my list count is 3. So what do I have to do here? -1. This, it's kind of a long line, but it says the most recently added item to the list. That is what that line means. No matter how it got there, that always means most recently added item. So I want to know if the most recently added item equals the value on the sheet in column number H. Then I want to do something. What do I want to do? First of all, what does it mean if this is true? If the one that I just barely added in is equal to the promotion that's listed on the worksheet, what should I do? Yeah, I want to make that one selected. So I'm going to say LST promo dot selected. This is an array, so I have to put in parentheses some number here. Put just some number there for a holder right now. Equals true. Now the question is, what do I really put here? This gives me the top index. This is the last index in my list. Remember, these 2 arrays are exactly the same size. And so, the last index in the list array will be the same thing. List count -1. That should now select the item that is in the promotion. Have I convinced you yet? This is harder? We're not done yet. It's going to get even worse. Stand by. So far we're only dealing with 1 item at a time. We want to be able to do multiple ones. Let's get this one going. All right, let's make sure this works. We come back to my products, Control Shift S. Canada Goose Bobber, half price. What do I have going on? Half price. You know, that should have. I was totally expecting that to be highlighted here. So I'm going to see what I've got going on. Let me just take a quick look at it, and then I have to debug it. If the one I just added is equal to H, I'm not really positive that that's column H. Let me go check that. It is H. Make sure I have a space on this or something. See any spaces there. Let me check over here. Promo. No space there. I had the same capitalization, didn't I? No space there. That looks really great. Uh-oh. It was frightening whenever this happened. So, put a breakpoint. Yes, even the professor has to debug from time to time. All right, so here's the first time now that I'm hitting this. So I just added an item in here. So the list count is 1. So I'm looking at the list sub 0. I'm going to take a peek at that one. LST promo dot list sub 0. And I want to print that. Free shipping. Okay, that's right. It won't be the first one. That's right. That's not the one. I'll run it again. Oh. I'm staying on free shipping. Oh no, I'm still on 0. I want to be looking at the most recently added one. It's free warranty. Next one is buy one, get one free. BOGO. Next one is half price. Now, I'm looking at half price. This is the one I'm expecting. Let's see what this value is. That's half price. See if they equally well. They'll equal each other. We'll drop in here. So F8. Aha, we're getting here okay. This promo selected. Number 4 is going to equal true. I wonder if this array is not available unless I have multi-select turned on. That must be what it is. So let's do this. This may not even be meaningful unless I've got multiple items able to select. So let's make that change now. So I'm going to change this to multi-select. So I've got my list box selected. I'm going to come find the property called multi-select and change it to 2. 1 or 2 will be fine. Let's try that again. Take that breakpoint off and just run. There we go. So before we can use that list or that selected property, we have to be in multi-select mode. So just review what we did to get there. So by selecting this list box, I changed the property called multi-select to something besides 0. 0 is no multi-select at all. Just select one, turn them on and off. You select one, it selects it. Select the next one.
Ours worked before we did that.
Really?
Yeah.
I expected it to work before I did. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Mine's okay now. Go ahead. You guys have Macs, they just work. So, all right, so now we're in good shape. It says half price. It highlights half price. Pretty good. I'd like to understand that a little bit better, but I'm not taking time right now to do it. Now, we want to be able to make it so that if we've selected 2, free warranty and half price, then we've written both of those out into the promo. Next, we got 10 minutes to go. We might be able to do this. So let's take a look. I'm going to come back to my save. Here's save data. All right, so here's what we have to do. We have to iterate now across that whole selected array, find out which ones are selected, and then build that into what we're going to put into the cell. So to do that, I'm going to first make myself, we could write straight to the cell. I'm going to put myself into a temporary variable. I'm going to make a variable called temp as a string. I'll need a control variable within x as an integer. For x equals 0, 2, however many items are in my list. LST promo dot list count minus 1. We're going from 0 to 1 less than the count. That's my indexes. Now what I want to do is I want to know if that thing is selected. If LST selected, LST promo dot selected, sub x. Now remember, selected is an array. It's an array. I have to tell it which part of that array I'm looking at. And so if wherever I am as I'm iterating across this, if that thing is selected, remember between my true and my if and my then, I have to have something that evaluates true or false. Selected is itself a Boolean expression, and so it will be either true or false. So when this is true, we want to do something. What do we want to do? We want to say temp equals what it used to be, concatenated with some delimiter. I'm going to use the pipe character. It's above the backslash on my keyboard. And whenever item is in LST promo list at that same location. The first time through, temp is going to be a zero-length string. Why? Temp is a string variable. They start at zero-length strings. So it'll be a zero-length string. What's it going to be afterwards? It's going to be a zero-length string, no characters, concatenated with a pipe, concatenated with whatever is in the list at the same location where we found an item that was selected. The next time through, so if it says free shipping, the next time through, this is going to say, temp is going to be what it currently is, free shipping. Well, pipe, free shipping, pipe, the next current one. And then all I'm going to do after I've built that is I'm going to write that out to the worksheet at that location. That's column H. It's going to equal, now if I just put temp in here, it's going to be everything. It's going to start with that, the pipe character, and then everything else. I don't really want the pipe character in there. And so, how do I say everything but the first character? Mid, look at temp, start at 2, and notice how length is optional. It's in brackets. It's optional. I don't have to tell it how many to take. If I don't tell it how many to take, it takes the whole rest of the string. As it says, start the second character, take the rest of the string. So I know that I'm putting a pipe at the beginning of this thing that I don't really need. That's okay. I'll leave it there. And then when I push this out to the worksheet, I'll just not push out. That should make it so that it will save the items that are selected. That's a lot to type in there. And I'm in a hurry because we still have to make one more modification. So at this point, I think if you're kind of still not with me, it's probably a good idea to kind of sit back. Let me finish this off. I'll post the code for you to work with. Go ahead and open this one up. Control-Shift-S. This doesn't say have price. You're cute. What have I done? We'll try a different one. Put in free warranty. This example will not be very good if you can't tell what's selected. Show data. It works when I run it from, that is so weird. It's working when I run it from the code, but not when I press Control-Shift-S. I don't have a good reason for why that would be. But until I understand it, I'm just going to run it from over here. Okay, so there's free warranty. I can now select free warranty and half price. Say OK, that should save it. Saves out free warranty, pipe symbol, half price. Now the problem is, next time I open that form, it doesn't show it. Why doesn't it show it? It's looking for equality between what's sitting here and what it just added. It's not going to find it. I don't have anything that I just added that's free warranty pipe half price. Ugh. The good news is, this is the last hard thing we're doing today. Bad news is, it's another hard thing to do. So, let's think about it. The process that we're taking is we're saying, listen, right when we add one of these things, when we add this one in, we're checking to see, should we highlight it? Now, currently we're checking by saying, does this equal what's there? It's not going to equal it anymore. What else could we ask? We just added free warranty. Is it a question or is it a comment?
Did you use some sort of a mid to pull out just a section in between the two pipes? Or...
Okay, so one approach would be split this thing into an array based on the pipe, and then loop through and see, does this equal any of those? That's even harder than what I'm about to do, but that would work. You could do that. There's another approach. Any thoughts? Another function we've worked with is a string function. We haven't used it a whole lot. Yeah, it's the one that looks to see if a string is inside another string. It's called instring, INSTR. Because right when I add free warranty, if free warranty is in here, oh, then I got to mark it. I just need to know if what I just added is in the cell, not if it equals the cell. So we'll come back to the code. And show data. So here's the one that's suspect. Instead of when it equals, let me copy that line. Let me close my form so I can copy that line. Okay, so now I don't want this. What I want is, all I saved was the if and the then. Instring. INSTR, instring function says start somewhere, the first character of some string. Which one do I want to see? Which one am I going to look in to see if it's there? Am I going to look in the list box or the cell? Look in the cell. So that's this one. I'm going to look in the cell. I'm going to look for what's I just added to the list box. Closing my parenthesis. That will return the position where this second string is found inside this one. If it's at the 7th character, it returns 7. If the other string starts at the 20th character, it returns 20. If it's not there, it returns 0. So I can just say, hey, if this is greater than 0, that means it found it somewhere. That's what I need to add. So now I should be able to run this. F5, and now they both get selected. If I change what's selected and save it, and now both those are the ones that get written out here. It probably wouldn't be a problem in this case, but what would happen if I had a promotion that, let's just say I had a promotion called half. I don't know what that promotion means. But what if I had a promotion called half? What's the problem here? When I put half into my list box, it's going to find it here. And it's going to go, oh yeah, even if I've got one called half price, so in other words, if I have a promotion that's a subset of another promotion, I'm in trouble. Oh, so with the last 2 minutes, I'm going to show how to handle that. It's ugly. It's not terribly ugly. If I think of this, let's suppose this. What if I had it like this? What if I had a pipe at the very beginning and a pipe at the end? Oops. Now, instead of just looking for the promotion, I could look for pipe, promotion, pipe. And then, if I had a subset, I wouldn't see it, because I'm bringing the delimiters in. Trouble is, I don't want there to be stored out here a pipe on both ends. It would be the end of the world if I did. But when I actually do the searching, I want to slide those pipes in. and then search for the pipe as well. So all that means is that when I'm searching, searching. I don't want to just look at what's currently in the cell. I want to put a pipe at the front and the back of that. Now, this doesn't write them out to the cell. This just says, hey, what I'm actually looking at is put a pipe on there just for the point where I'm searching, and put a pipe after it just for when I'm searching. Same thing for what I'm looking for. Now, instead of just looking for the promotion, I want to look for pipe, promotion, pipe. And that'll prevent me from finding a promotion that is a sub-string of the other promotion. Did you follow that? It's a long, ugly line, I know. I'm only moderately sorry. Just check to make sure the code still works. Still working. And that is that. The point here is that we just, again, we're saying, hey, we've got these delimiters in here, what I'm actually going to search in. Slap a delimiter on the front and the back of the whole set. And then what I'm searching for, include the delimiters. That'll keep you from finding the substring. I'll get this posted. That is the hard part of the project. You'll have to make some additions, some modifications to it. The ideas are all there. Questions? There's some other controls you're going to have to work with. Hopefully the book gets you going on that. If not, let me know. And I'll spend some more time briefly in class. Get you ready. All right, folks, thanks for coming. Class dismissed.